for the universe to see.
Shit,
For your great grandkids to be like, why my great granddaddy suck his teeth?
why Poopaw suck his goddamn teeth?
This motherfucker's a sheep. He only follows, bro. Welcome.
Welcome, man. We back again, man.
We back.
June the 4th.
Episode 22.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We
Before
right back
we
at it.
get started, I wanted to address the elephant in the room. Felt like wearing motherfucking sunglasses today.
Hey, man.
So
I
I know it might be off-putting.
It is.
You're gonna look over and you're gonna see a fly nigga like Sonny.
I don't feel right about it, but
you
I'm
know,
gonna let you live.
sad part about it is, if we had a celebrity guest who walked up in this motherfucking had on sunshades on the inside, wouldn't nobody say shit. Every motherfucking interview, you see these rappers and entertainers inside wearing sunglasses. Indeed. Don't nobody say shit.
I would.
So I'm
say, why
our
you,
guest celebrity.
Why you inside with sunglasses on, dude? Ain't no
why
sun
did I just suck
inside.
my teeth, bro?
I don't know.
Did you hear that? When I did it.
I don't know, but it's documented. we big on documentation, dog. Yep. It's documented for the universe to see. Yeah, for your great grandkids to be like, why my great granddaddy suck his teeth?
Why Poopaw suck his goddamn teeth?
And got on shades.
Paw
inside.
Hey man, that's how I was feeling today.
I'm not mad at you, dog. I'm gonna let you live.
Yeah, it feels good. It's a beautiful day, man. Driving out here, bro.
It's nice. You had the top down?
Oh yeah. It was a nice drive too, man. In the morning.
Yeah.
I got up yesterday, man, and morning like 6:30 and was like, something was like, go walking. So I got up and walked to the mall from the crib.
Oh,
and I got to sit out in the green, dude, and just sat there, man, and just enjoyed the morning. Watch, traffic increase and there's something about the mornings, man, that just feel right.
It's the quiet, dog. It's the quiet and it's weird how there's a peace in the morning that doesn't exist through the rest of the day. Maybe at dusk it has that same kind of vibe, but in the city it's different because of the traffic and all that. But
I was watching the Dick Gregory interview, and he was talking about how one of the best ways to get your day started is waking up in the morning. Like you got to do it when the sun rises.
Right.
And go sit in some grass and take your shoes off.
Wow.
And let the dew sit on your feet.
Yeah.
And to just sit there and absorb all the energy. He said there's an energy that is dispensed in the morning that kind of like creates the tone for all the other living things on the planet.
Right.
To kind of equalize, just to kind of set the tone for the day. And when you're wearing shoes, you can't connect with it.
Right.
When you on concrete, you can't connect with it.
Right.
You got to be on some motherfucking grass.
Yeah.
And then just sit there and absorb
that
energy. And that shit always. God bless brother Baba Dick, cause I miss that man.
Yeah, he was a deep dude, man.
He was.
And he did a lot, man. He did a lot.
You know what's crazy? I was watching. Some people forget that he's the dude that actually broke the Zapruder film for the JFK assassination.
I didn't know that.
He's the one who had the film.
I didn't know that. I don't even know how he even got that.
Dude, he's the one who broke the joint.
I didn't even know that. Yeah, Dick Gregory was wild.
Yeah.
I didn't agree with everything he said, but he said some deep stuff, dog.
Yeah, sometimes, he come back around. Dude been talking about how fucked up water is, bro, since the 80s.
Yeah.
And people looking at him like he wilding.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just gotta, when you so far ahead, motherfuckers think you behind.
Yep.
And I ain't saying on everything, but
Yeah. But he had some gems in there, man.
Yeah, he did. So we were talking the other day about this concept of duality and how it exists pretty much in every facet of life.
Right.
And one of the areas that it exists is in this concept of suffering and pain and, you know, just whatever that represents in your sphere.
Yeah.
And comfort, good, whatever that represents in your sphere. So you've got pain, you've got suffering, and then you've got comfort and pleasure. Thank you.
Right.
And the world has assigned value that one is good and the other is bad.
Right. And duality meaning that, to me, you might want to explain duality just so we're clear on terms. Duality meaning the equal size of two sides being equal size of a thing. And
one not being able to exist without the other.
Yes.
So
that's it.
So in order for up to be an up, there has to be a down.
Absolutely.
In order for good to be good, there has to be evil. So it has to, whatever something is, there is an opposite, there is an equal representation of the opposition of it.
Conceptually, yes.
Conceptually, yes. Okay. So you got pain and suffering, and you got comfort and pleasure.
Right.
Society has assigned a value to these things as being good or bad. That human beings operate and assess on the good and bad level. So,
and there's some biology in there a little bit, but that is way deeper than the conversation.
So the biology is the pain and the suffering.
Right. The pain.
The psychology.
Yes.
Is good and bad.
Yes. The pain and suffering being, you know,
like that's real.
Right. If I eat this poison thing, it's gonna make me sick. So I'm not going.
And I don't want that. And I'm gonna feel pain.
That. Right. I'm gonna avoid that.
Yeah.
I know that I should avoid that. That's the biology of where that shit comes from. But
yes.
Continue.
Now, that's a real life example, or a clear example of pain and bad.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times, and what drove the conversation
and that's not necessarily bad, it's just pain. Bad is how you make the psychology of making that association.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes.
Okay.
And so, when it comes to poison, quote unquote poison, like ammonia and all this other shit that you can fuck around and die from.
Right.
That is a kind of like a clear good or bad thing that most people are okay. Like, is it bad to get shot in the head? That's probably a bad thing.
Right.
So that's cool to label that bad.
But yeah.
It's cool to label
that's true.
Stabbing. You see what I'm saying?
But the thing, like, if we're talking about ammonia is not bad. Drinking it, the action of doing something that'll hurt you is bad. Just like stabbing, a knife is not a bad thing. It's just the application of the knife. If somebody stabs you, that is a bad thing.
Right.
So separating the thing from the actual.
It's the application of it.
Yes. Clean.
So when I'm saying this, I'm not. You can drink too much water and die, right? So,
right.
Yeah. Anything is quote unquote.
But go ahead.
So there are things in our sphere that are clear in terms, and now, even though there's some ambiguity, none of this is 100%. So leaving room for the fact that ammonia is good to clean, but if you drink it, it's bad.
Yes.
Or so again, there's that duality for good or bad.
Right.
These things are existing on multiple layers and multiple levels and in separate contexts all through.
Right.
So, but I'm using that as an example because it is a clear, quote unquote, bad.
Okay.
In terms of drinking it.
Yes.
In terms of getting shot in the head. Like that's a clear thing.
Yeah.
So and the reason why I'm using something, well, let me take a step back. You give me an example of what is a clear bad so that we can at least use that.
Like I said, man, when you say bad, right, it's bad to me is based on your association to it. Yes, being stabbed is bad. Like, it's painful and dangerous for you. And so you make the association that you want to avoid that because it's bad for you. But again, if you out trying to, do something wild to somebody's child and they roll up on you and stab you, is that necessarily bad? Not really. So it's your association to the thing that's happening.
But that's why we're getting into the weeds.
Right.
Which I think misses the greater point because that
We'll make the point first and then we'll.
Because that can be said about anything. Like I said,
right.
Drinking too much water is bad.
Yes.
If you're trying to kill me, getting stabbed isn't a bad thing.
Yes.
So any statement we make about a thing can be placed, any statement we make about a bad thing can be put into a context that makes it good.
Or any statement we make about a thing can be good or bad. Depends on our relationship to it.
However you want to say it.
Right.
So, but the point of highlighting the clear things, in my mind, that's clear. Getting shot in the head is a clear thing that someone would want to avoid.
Yes.
Clear.
Yes, absolutely.
Same with stab. Now, if I'm out trying to do some wild shit to somebody, you expect that. But in a broad, goddamn, we getting stuck. So
yeah. So you make the point.
So there are things that happen that are clear, and then that have a bad association, and then there are other things that are a bit more ambiguous that society has placed a bad or good value on.
Yes.
As it relates to pain, suffering, comfort, and pleasure.
Right.
And what a lot of people do at times moving through life is, because of this value that society has applied to it, we're trying our hardest to avoid pain, to avoid suffering, and to seek comfort and to seek pleasure.
Yes.
And when we encounter a perceived bad thing that has a negative consequence that creates suffering or pain, we see that as bad.
Okay.
And a part of our conversation the other day was, if the duality exists, because it's a universal thing, good and bad, right or wrong, love and fear, like you can't have up, you can't without having down. Like this is a universal principle that is taking place in the universe, where you can't have one without the other. So if we're going to live, and we're going to love, and we're going to have pleasure and have comforts, the only way we can have those things is if we have pain and if we have suffering.
Okay.
And there's lessons to learn from both of those things. And a lot of the pain and a lot of the suffering that we choose to avoid, we're really avoiding learning the lessons from the things that are present in that experience.
Okay.
And because we have bad associations with it. an example. Your marriage doesn't work out. Your woman leaves you. Your man leaves you. That is perceived in our society as a bad thing. And so, is it bad? Or is it an experience? Because we get to pick that.
Right. Right. Yeah, dog. I agree with you. But I think it's based on our relationship to it, and it is particular to whoever's having this conversation. But there's always a lesson in whatever situation you find yourself in, and saying that it's bad is placing that situation somewhere in your pain receptors, right? The lesson is understanding that it's not necessarily bad. It's painful, but being bad and being painful aren't necessarily the same thing. Something can be painful, but it could be something that there is a lesson somewhere in that pain, and you have to embrace that and walk through that in order to get to that thing, right? But the avoidance of the pain because you sort of associate it as bad tends to have you avoid or miss the lesson that you have to walk through it. Because a lot of things that you do that you consider painful, you still have to walk through, and you have to come out on the other side. You can come out on the other side understanding that it's painful, but I'm going to embrace the pain and go through it, or saying that it's bad and I'm going to be knocked around and try to avoid it and have to come back to it and then eventually have to walk through it. But eventually there's something waiting for you on the other side of that pain. But the bad thing is when you decide I am going to associate it with being bad, right? Because those two things aren't necessarily the same, pain and bad. I can say this pain hurts like shit, but it's something waiting for me on the other side. So I'm going to embrace this shit and go through it. And even appreciate, I don't know if you necessarily can love pain, but you can appreciate what you're going through because you know that there's something on the other side of it.
You can love pain. It's something David Goggins talks about all the time. And it's something that I actually...
David Goggins, give a reference to who he is.
He's just I don't really know who he is. He's like a triathlete dude who talks a lot about being uncomfortable, pushing yourself. I don't know much about the dude. And I probably shouldn't have mentioned his name since I don't know much about him. But he's an inspirational dude. Look him up. I ain't trying to sell him. But I used to write a lot of poems about pain when I was younger, and I didn't really understand what my relationship was to it. I just knew that I was comfortable with it, that it felt good in the context of pain because it was familiar.
What do you mean, comfortable with pain or writing?
Comfortable with pain.
Okay.
And it's like melancholy and all of that. And I think it was something that kind of triggered with a lot of the depression shit that I was dealing with in those deep dark places.
Right.
And so the reason why I wanted to have the conversation because
whoa. You said the pain triggered the melancholy and the depression that you were dealing with.
Yeah, because I didn't understand my relationship to pain. Because you mentioned this, that you don't think we can. The reason why I wanted to have this conversation is because I wanted to examine the idea of pain and suffering and what people's relationship to it is.
Okay.
And how changing that relationship can help with depression potentially, how it's helped me, and how it has helped me just manage life in general. Because pain is a part of life.
Yes.
It's unavoidable.
Yes.
What is your relationship to it like? How do you see it? How do you manage it? How do you anticipate it? And more importantly, how do you choose it? Because you can choose pain. So for me, as an example, I get up in the morning and I eat a plant-based diet, right? As an example. Vegan, whatever the fuck you want to call it. And does that mean I don't like beef and cheese and all this other shit? No, I don't mean that at all. That's what I was raised on. That's what the fuck I love. But I tell myself that there is a person that I want to be. Now, to be that person comes with sacrifice.
Yep.
Do I endure the pain and suffering associated with sacrifice to be the person that I want to be? Or do I endure the pain and the suffering from not being the person that I want to be, from not making the decisions to be the person I want to be?
Okay.
So if I wake up in the morning and I say I want to be a vegan, I got to do shit to be a fucking vegan.
Yes.
And that's a sacrifice.
Yes.
So let's say I wake up this morning, I want to be a vegan. And I see a triple cheeseburger with bacon on that motherfucker and some mayonnaise.
It'd be good though.
And some other shit. And I look at it and I see you eating it. You be like, damn dog, you want a piece? I'll be like, yeah, man, I want a piece.
For sure.
But I say no.
Right.
Later on that day, I'm going to replay that interaction where I said no, and I'm going to feel good. Why am I going to feel good? It's because I was tested.
Right.
And I passed the test.
Right.
This is the shit that I created for myself, the test, not the world.
Right.
And so I feel good.
Right.
Now, scenario 2, if you offer me the burger and I actually eat the motherfucker
and enjoy it.
Motherfucker
delicious.
Tonight,
yeah,
when I replay the tape,
yeah,
I'ma feel like shit.
Right.
Because I know that I failed myself.
Right.
So there's suffering there, and then there's suffering in actually not eating it. So picking which one of those scenarios I want to suffer through defines who I am. The idea that I'm not going to suffer is just not a realistic expectation for that scenario.
Right. Yeah, dog, all that's 100 scenarios are 100% clean. And everybody can point to something in their existence that they're tested in certain things in certain ways. And it ain't just gotta be your diet. It could be shit. Parenting, it could be anything, man.
Not flying off the handle when somebody piss you off.
Exactly. All those things are tests. The relationship to like pain and I want to get clear on terms. Suffering, if you went through, in your example, and you didn't eat the delicious double cheeseburger with bacon and mayonnaise on them soft buns that be good, and you replay it in your mind, do you think that there is pain associated with you looking at wanting that burger and not eating it? Or do you think the pain is associated with you just wanting it in general, feeling guilty about wanting it in general?
No, for me, the pain would be. Ask the question again.
Is the pain associated with you not? I mean, the pain associated with you wanting it and not eating it, or is the pain associated with the guilt that you feel from even wanting it?
Wanting it and not eating it.
Okay. So for me, dog, it's the suffering word. And I know it's nuanced, and I know it's really, but just in defining terms, the word suffering is how we relate to the thing that pains us. Right? Is the label that we put on, like, is how we internalize that thing. If I'm looking at a double cheeseburger and I know that I don't want to eat that, and it hurts because I want it, I can say, okay, I'm not going to do that, right? I'm going to experience this pain of not eating this burger, right? But I'm going to keep pushing. I'm not necessarily suffering, right? It hurts, but that's not necessarily suffering to me.
So, and that's what I'm saying. So, suffering relates to an extended period of time.
Exactly.
That time, and that's why this is a relative thing.
Right.
Like, and the word, to me, the words represent a span of time, kind of like a mindset, or a moment.
Yes.
So pain can be a momentary thing.
Yes.
A suffering is something, so like I can experience a moment every day for 10 years. But if I'm telling the story, I could say I suffered with that for 10 years.
Right.
Even though it was a momentary pain every day for 10 years.
But it's a consistent momentary pain.
So here's the individual gets to define what that is. The person. So like it's not a suffering for you. And that's why I use both words, pain and suffering.
Okay.
Because those things are going to mean something different.
But the pain is the pain. The suffrage is how you relate to the pain, or how you respond, relate, or carry the pain, right? After it's done. For example, I read, or I was watching something, man, I don't know what it was. And it was talked about trauma and how people use the word trauma. But trauma is just how you carry a traumatic event or traumatic set of events, right? So it could be something that happened to you at some point that was really painful and really traumatic and really stopped you in your tracks in terms of your development and hurt really bad, right? The trauma is how you then carry that thing and how you replay that thing in your mind. That's, to me, that's the relationship to the thing, right? So suffering is the same sort of thing to me. It's how you relate to because you could, so I think pain and suffering are different, is all I'm saying. Pain is the thing. Suffering is your relationship to the thing.
And they are. And that's why I use both of the terms. And
okay.
So, and that's
I thought you were using them synonymously, but you're just using them as one and then the next thing.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to be clear.
Yeah. Like, yes.
Okay.
For that, and I like how you. And here's the thing about the word. Like, most of us are using terms that are interchangeable, but we still might not have an agreement on what the definition is.
Exactly.
I am clean on relinquishing my definition for the purpose of the conversation to move forward, even though that isn't necessarily how I would use the term when I use it. So like traumatic as an example. Trauma is, in my mind, an experience, something you experience, but not necessarily something. So when someone says, oh, you had a traumatic experience.
Right.
It's just that all of these are just words.
Right.
It's important to define them.
Yes.
So, and even when we're having the conversation, especially with stuff so ambiguous and broad as this,
and subjective.
It's subjective.
Yes.
Thank you. People are going to get from it whatever they want. So like, even though they might understand what our terms are for pain and suffering, they know what that means to them.
But
in their personal life.
Yes, and I will say that, dog, because I said that because when that was broken down to me about traumatic events and trauma, it changed how I saw the shit that I've experienced, right? It because the words that I've used or come to use or seen or tried to put a connection on myself, it led me to say, okay, traumatic event is the thing, right? Is the pain. The trauma is the relationship as you carry it through in your bag. That's what you carry around. So in that definition, then it helped me to understand and have a different relationship to the shit. I mean, it's language.
Now, mind you, some of these have multiple definitions. So like if you go and look up trauma, there might be number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5.
Right.
So it's not necessarily about saying one is better or worse than the other.
Right.
It's just the context in which the word in which the word is used.
Yes.
So it and I want to make sure that we it's not, I don't feel like we're necessarily competing for which one, because both of the definitions can be accurate and relevant.
Yes.
So it's not about superseding one over the other, but just offering
a broader context
of what they are.
Yes.
You're
talking about pain and suffering.
Everybody is going through something.
Yep.
And there is something very specific that people are going through that they're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
And the reason why I wanted to have a conversation about pain, suffering, and what your relationship is to it is maybe because the reason why you're continuing to suffer through it and experience pain in that is because you haven't shifted your relationship to it.
Yes.
The motherfucker you are beefing and fighting and suffering might be your life's greatest teacher.
Yep.
But because you can't see past the fact that it's a negative, quote unquote, or you trying to run from it and avoid it, you can't even see the lessons that's in the motherfucking shit.
Yep.
And challenging the notion of pain and suffering being negative and embracing the fact and the idea that that's what that is. There's healing in pain.
Yep.
There's healing in suffering.
Yep.
There's healing in understanding the lessons that the universe is pointing and leading you to through those quote unquote negative experiences.
Yep.
I ain't never learned shit poignant or impactful through a lack of adversity. Yeah. Never, bro. The time when I fucking wanted to do something and fail, that's the one thing I love about sales, bro. You fail all the time. All sales is, all a successful salesperson is a motherfucker who's good at failing. That's it. All a successful business person is a motherfucker who's good at failing.
Interesting.
Good at managing pain, good at persevering, good at pushing through shit, good at seeing the light and the beauty in the small things and in the small moments and the glimpses and the glimmers. That's it.
Right.
Like pain is just what the shit is gonna be.
Right.
But you get to pick it. You got motherfuckers who experience pain going to their job every goddamn day. They can't stand the motherfucker that they work with, that they report to.
Facts.
And they suffer through that for years. When they could take that same level of suffering and pain and put that into doing their own thing. You're going to suffer. But you get to pick what you suffer through. When you get up and you go to that bullshit job talking to that motherfucking inept ass manager who don't know shit, who you feel doesn't do their part or their role or contribute, you're suffering. You might get used to suffering.
Yeah.
You might tell yourself different kind of stories, but you ain't happy.
Nah.
So to me, it's about the relationship to the thing, and
right.
as opposed to trying to figure out how to hide it. And maybe, when you look at your boss in y'all meetings and you look at him and you say to yourself, you are a stupid motherfucker. Maybe that's the universe telling you to do something different. Not to keep doing the same goddamn shit, because again, if you understood that you're gonna suffer.
Yeah, and here's the thing, man. So all that's clean. And a lot of times we are in these positions where we feel like that we're, that we're sacrificing. And then there is a relationship between the words suffer and sacrifice, right? That we're sacrificing for, it's a means to an end, is what we always say. But I'll tell you this, dog. In my experience, as soon as you change that you will see the end of whatever that suffering or whatever you're doing as a means to an end, whenever you start to pivot towards whatever else you want to do, whatever else that thing is will start to move towards you. But as long as you just kind of go into, like you said, go into this space and you're with these people that you hate, and this boss is inept, and it happens all the time. And he's an asshole and is making you stressed, and you know what I'm saying, you're suffering through this shit, nothing will change. But as soon as and you can still go in there, but as soon as you come home and you say, let me look up how to be a writer, how to write books, what do I need to do to move in that direction? What do I need to do to open my own? It ain't gotta be nothing huge. It could be something, what do I do? I wanna sell stuff on Amazon. I wanna write short stories. I wanna start a blog, whatever that is. Your relationship to that thing that you wanna do starts to move towards you. And your relationship to that quote unquote suffering changes. Because you know that eventually there's an end to it, right? You see it as a temporary thing, as opposed to a long-term, like you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel.
See, and that's where I disagree. Suffering never ends.
Dog.
You just pick what you suffer through. You pick the pain, and you shift. It's a part of life. In the same way, love. There's no end to love. If there's no end to love, there's no end to suffering.
Dog, love. There's pleasure and there's pain. There's comfort and there's suffering. You get to pick your relationship to the comfort and suffering piece. If you are experiencing something that's painful for you, you can choose how you embrace the pain, whether you turn that pain into suffering or whether you see that there's something else at the end of that pain. And if you do that, then your relationship to the suffering is different.
And that's why, and so you said the suffering ends. What I'm saying is, and this is a part, because suffering has such a negative, we want it to end. We have to tell stories that end with the end of suffering. What I'm saying is, I don't want to live in a world where suffering doesn't exist, because I don't see it as a bad thing. I see it as a path to life's greatest motherfucking rewards, greatest lessons, and all of that. So because again, you want to tell a story that suffering ends, and I want to tell a story that suffering exists and will always exist. And the faster we can embrace that as a way of life, and understand and learn how to manage it, how to tell yourself stories about it, and look at it as opportunities to grow from, dude, this is one of the things that is helping me with my depression, because when I was looking and going to all these classes and reading these books and doing therapy and all of this shit, I saw the suffering and the pain as bad, because that's what I felt and that's what the world around me said it was. And so I looked to try to eliminate it, not understand it. And I experienced good throughout that process too. That, I had relationships. I experienced love to the degree that I could. I had laughed. I had moments. I had brought joy to people's lives. But I had this shit on the other end, dog, that was dark. And so I was like, I wanted to take that shit and just make it go away. But that whole time when I was going through it, there were lessons in that shit. The universe was speaking to me, but because I wouldn't talk, I wouldn't listen, it actually perpetuated the shit in a lot of ways. And so what I realized through the process is the pain, the concept of it, suffering, the concept of it is life. Just as much a part of life as all of the other shit, because it's a duality, and because it exists, because it can't exist without all the other shit existing. And understanding it, managing it, and embracing it actually reduces the quote unquote negative impact it has on my life.
Dog, I hear you. And that's your experience. But to me, life is a beautiful thing. And is there suffering? Absolutely. Is there pain? Absolutely.
Pain is beautiful, bro.
Of course.
So that's what I'm saying.
It's part of it. So that's what I'm saying. But it's not, you said suffering is life. They're not synonymous to me.
No, I'm not saying it's the only thing. But that's what I'm saying, bro.
You said it is life.
Suffering is life. Love is life.
It's a part of it.
Happiness is life.
It's a part of it.
Okay, so.
I'm saying, let me make my point. Let me make my point. So there are points in this existence. There are times where their pain exists. There are times that love exists. And ultimately, if we go to any ancient text that talks about, especially Eastern Asian texts that talk about our relationship to those things, our relationship should not be heavy leaning towards any one of those things. We should always try to remain centered no matter what the situation brings to us, no matter what life brings to us. So will there be pain? Yes. Is there suffering associated with some of that pain? Yes. Does it have to be? Depends on the pain. Sometimes you can embrace the pain and go through it and not necessarily associate that with suffering.
What is your biggest rejection to what I'm saying?
That it's not a rejection. I mean, your experience is your experience, bro.
To the concept.
But in my experience,
to the concept.
No, because my experience is different from that.
No,
it's not a rejection. I'm just saying that my experience is different. My experience is there is pain, and of course there is suffering, right? But to me, pain and how you embrace or not embrace that pain is directly related to whether you associate suffering to that pain. I could go through a painful situation and go through some pain and embrace it and not feel suffering behind it. Mm-hmm. And there's some shit that I go through that I gotta suffer through. It exists, all of it exists. But like you said, I get to pick which pain am I gonna go through and embrace it and understand there's something on the other side of that, and which one am I gonna have to sit and suffer through. Either one of those is cool. There's no negative connotation on either one of those, but they don't have to be together
But there is a so we got to be clean, dog. There is a negative connotation.
I said it doesn't have. Okay, it doesn't have to be, but yes.
So the point of the conversation is to say that there is a negative connotation, but there doesn't have to be.
Yes.
Everything that you just said could be.
Yes.
Everything, we both know what our personal relationship is to this shit.
Yes.
And what we avoid and how we avoid it and how we see the negative and all of that kind of stuff.
Yes.
And what we So there's this idea of what the perfect world scenario of the shit is, and then there's an idea of how this shit really shows up in a nigga's life.
Right.
And what he's doing and how he's doing it.
And there is no perfect world scenario.
Yeah. So when we say, and that really is the purpose of the call, I feel like I'm on fucking Zoom. The purpose of the conversation, because it's like, a lot of the things, because some of the stuff that we're talking about avoiding in terms of pain is the pain associated with letting the ego go. A lot of the pain that we're talking about, that I'm talking about embracing and owning, is being something for somebody else when we feel like they weren't that for us. Because the ego has to die.
Yes.
And that is a pain that we're not willing, the average person is not willing to embrace. And
willing is a strong word, because some of us, dog, most of us, and again, dog, I'm gonna say this to you every time. You're coming from a place that of a different level of enlightenment. Most of us, dog, we don't know how to deal with this shit.
But the pain,
we have even the pain, dog.
See, this is what I'm saying,
the reason why the reason why a lot of us take that pain and we avoid that shit at all costs, and that shit seeps out in so many different ways, because we don't know how to deal with that shit. So, we have no idea how to even really let it wash through. We don't know how to, dog.
This is the reason, bro.
Nobody has taught us how to deal with pain. All our whole lives, motherfuckers tell us that you gotta be strong, you gotta power through it, you gotta be whatever. That's what we get. We never get, nobody ever says, hey man, I know you're hurting. Let's figure out how to work through this shit. That doesn't exist, bro, in my experience.
I ain't saying that I got the answers, bro. What I'm saying is that I spend more than a little time thinking about this shit. And a lot of our path to a lot of this shit is, it looks different. What does the path look like that leads to the place that you're describing? We don't do. What does a world look like that you're describing in your head, and what is the path that motherfuckers gotta go?
What do you mean?
So when you said, well, don't nobody sit down and talk about going through this and letting go, and like, what is, so I'm talking about the past. There is a daily thing. See, here's the thing that I think that you and I don't think we necessarily disagree. I just think that we struggle with getting on the same page with it. The world that we are talking about, living in, has to be created.
Yes.
And it is done through action.
Yes.
What does the action look like of the niggas trying to create that world? It is having these discussions and turning the shit on its head.
Yes. Yes.
Everything we've been told to do is wrong.
Yes. And turning the shit on its head as individuals in our own lives and how we relate to other motherfuckers.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So everything we've been told is wrong.
Yes.
Ain't nobody ever told you to embrace pain.
Nope.
So even having this conversation,
yes,
as fucking wild and as ridiculous as it is, has the potential to create the path.
Yes.
Not to say that the answer is necessarily there,
right.
Because again, I struggle, bro.
Yeah.
Daily.
Yeah.
With things.
Yeah.
And I can
Absolutely.
tell you that there is
Absolutely.
love, there is light,
yes,
there is purpose.
Yes.
In picking your pain.
Yes.
And choosing the things.
And
I can't choose when I wake up necessarily sometimes and have a dark thought.
Yes.
But I can choose
yes.
to do something in this area of my life that I don't want to do, that causes me pain, that on the other side of that overshadows this pain over here that I can't control.
Yes.
Or at least balances it out. So being that nigga that wakes up in the morning that has no idea what I'm gonna do, and then just let the pain just grow and grow and grow, let the suffering, let the depression, whatever word you wanna call this shit that human beings experience.
Right.
One of the ways I fight it,
I
fight the pain, I fight the suffering, I fight the challenges of my mental shit by sacrificing, by experiencing, by restricting myself and doing things in this other way that is extremely uncomfortable. But doing that in that area over there and having that relationship to embrace it, not to run away from it.
Right.
I don't want to, like this shit over here, I'm gonna go over here. Now it might not. We talk about this conceptual shit, about what people do and what they don't do, and how we've been taught and how people react and respond, bro. Mm-hmm. We have to live that in our own individual lives. And what does that look like?
And again, dog, yes, we do, dog.
It ain't gonna look normal.
It ain't gonna look like what you're used to. But and again, dog, I think all of us, we all a lot of times wake up with in that same dark place, bro. And we have to, and the core of what you're saying is that there has to be something that you have to connect to and focus on and look at to let whatever you're feeling wash through and you go to that thing.
Can I pause right there?
You can't, let me finish. You can't do what you've always done, which is sit and stew in that fuckery and that bullshit for extended amount of time. That's not gonna change. That's not gonna put the shit on his head. You have to, and no matter what it is. And dog, sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't. But you gotta try, even if it's go outside and put your feet in some grass. Even if it's making your bed, dog. Sometimes it's the littlest shit that pushes you forward.
There's pain there.
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. Pick that pain.
Yes.
So when you're saying it as if it's an easy thing.
Of course not.
So you're saying what I'm saying, bro. You're just saying it in a different way.
You're saying, but what you're saying
so the pain so when I'm sitting in bed, bro, and I don't want to get out of bed.
Right.
Because I'm depressed as a motherfucker.
Clean.
And I know I need to go out and go put my feet in the motherfucking grass.
Yes.
Because Dick Gregory said, go put your feet in the goddamn grass.
Yes.
But I don't want to do it.
Right.
That's painful. To actually go do it. So what I'm saying is, you could either sit in your motherfucking pain in the crib.
Right.
Or push through the pain that you think that you feel to not go do that simple task.
Right.
Pick that pain as opposed to the pain of just sitting at the crib.
And again, dog, I agree.
Because what you're saying, because you said before, you said you gotta look past.
Yes.
That's pain.
Dog, I agree. What I'm saying to you is this. I've had those, we've all had them. And my relationship to it is the same, but it's a little bit different. When I get up and I know I got to do something else, something other than what the fuck I've always done, it's hard as shit. It's tough. It's hard, dog. It's a struggle, right? Which is the same as pain. But I might not use the word pain, but it's the same thing. So all I'm saying to you is, in the realm of the internet that we listening to, it's painful and it's hard and it's all the other things, but it's not necessarily. Somebody might not look at it as how you look at it. Some people might look at it as it being hard.
So the purpose, I'm telling people how I'm looking at it. And what I'm saying is adjusting.
But you're saying you.
Yeah, so I'm talking about people's relationship to pain.
Right.
A lot of this shit, again, we're saying it's bad. Society said pain is bad. So that means we avoid it. So we're looking to not call certain things pain. We're looking to call certain things certain things. What I'm saying is, it's painful for me, dude, to get up and brush my teeth at night when I don't want to fucking brush my teeth. That I'm changing and shifting the whole notion and idea of what the fuck pain. To me, is pain. I'm shifting my whole relationship to it.
Right.
So that when I experience, now, what a motherfucker calls pain, looking at this is going, I'm offering an idea about how I'm managing this shit. And that is changing and shifting the idea of what pain is to what my relationship is to it. So if I know I need to brush my teeth and floss at night, and again, it sounds so stupid, reducing it to very small things like this, but for me personally,
right,
it's these small things that are examples of these bigger things that I don't want to take care of in my life.
Yes.
When I say I'm gonna do some shit, bro, I'm gonna do it.
Right.
And I, because I in my mind, I know what my filter, what my fuckery is of playing games with myself, right, and negotiating.
Yes.
And what I'm hiding behind.
Yes.
And so I know what those conversations are inside of me. So owning all of it and not even seeing it as bad. Like, fuckery ain't bad, because all of this shit makes me up, makes up who I am.
Right.
We want to avoid, like, even in your concept, and I get why the reaction that you have to the it's a notion that is different. But and what I'm saying, I don't see pain as bad. Right. I know we want to see pain as something that people should avoid. No. And I know, so what I'm saying is, when you get up and you need to suffer or struggle through something,
right, call
that pain. I do. When I don't want to brush my teeth,
you could.
I call it pain.
You could.
And so,
and also,
I identify a lot of times, one of my definitions of pain is doing something that I don't want to do. That's painful. To me, that's painful. To me. And so, right, when something does come up that is quote unquote real pain, in my mind, I got a relationship to pain. Okay. To where that when that motherfucking real pain comes, that's light work. I've been suffering and dealing through pain and all that old kind of shit in all these other areas of my life. Now this new thing that comes along called pain, that ain't shit. I've been dealing with shit. It ain't new.
Yeah. I agree with you, dog. But I also I don't know if I caution you, but I wouldn't want. Let me take it back. For myself, I don't want to make an association between what the fuck I've dealt with before and where I am now. I want to be in a space when I get up and I know that I don't feel at my my motherfucking best me, and I know I need to motherfucking fight through that to get to the small things to do. I want to continue to distance or to whatever I need to do, forgive myself, distance myself, not be how I respond to shit like I used to. I want to distance that relationship. And that hard work, and as you said, painful work is part of that moving forward, those small things. Even if they're small, like I said, making up my bed, whatever it is steps to make sure that I am creating a different relationship with myself, right? But that's the pain. That's the hard part. That's the work involved. I don't want to feel like I am still having a connection between the shit that I've been through and what the fuck I'm trying to do now.
So when you say connection to the shit that you've been through, I don't quite understand.
I don't want to carry the shit, like, I don't want to, like, if I'm saying it's painful, I don't want to be painful based on what the fuck I've been through before, or have that association to the shit. And that's just me personally.
I still don't understand.
A lot of times when we talk about pain and we talk about the shit that we've gone through, that pain is connected to pain from past parts of our lives, right? We're not looking at the thing that's in front of us as the painful, hard thing. We're looking at it as it connects to the thing that we've suffered through and been through and struggled through. I want to make sure that I'm looking at the thing that's in front of me as changing my relationship to all that shit.
And so in your mind, if you're calling it all pain, you're connecting it all by calling it all pain.
I think that I think that that's easy to do.
Okay.
But again, whether it's hard or it's pain or wherever the fuck it is all the same thing. But I mean, I'm just saying that, for motherfuckers who are struggling with this shit, again, the same thing holds true. You need to forgive yourself for the shit that's happened. You need to understand that a lot of shit that's happened is not about you, and you need to be moving in a way that makes you whole and healthy, not holding on to the shit that's happened before.
And a part of my pain was not wanting to let go.
Exactly.
And so
that's what I'm just saying. You act like you ain't know what the fuck I was talking about.
No, so I didn't know that was what you were saying. And people's relationship to this shit is going to be different. And the words that they use. Because words sometimes, it's like, you just got intelligent, scary motherfuckers. Sometimes people sometimes, I read all of these books and I was talking to my brother the other day and I was like, man, I just got good. I just got fancy at hiding. I just got smart and able to use fancy words. Like for the individual, you'll know what that is, and all of this shit is gonna resonate. And it's you've got to be okay with not hitting everybody. You can't hit everybody. And sometimes the broadness of certain contexts and certain things, you'll actually end up missing the people who you were supposed to hit. Because for the people who are coming in, they're going to get what they need to get. And I think sometimes, and I understand, like we want to be broad, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we're not missing or excluding or even being misinterpreted in any way. But for me, some of that is about fear, for me personally, not saying for you, of just being misunderstood. And that's a challenge that I have. That is something that I work on. But the broad concept is there's something that we've been told about pain.
Yes.
And there's more there.
Yes. Yes.
I have found wisdom in my pain.
Yes.
I've found healing in my pain, and I've found it as a path to managing my mental illness, whatever that means, and all of this other shit that's going on.
Yeah.
And discipline is a hell of a thing in my life that I live by, and a part of my discipline is a part of managing pain and suffering. And that shows up each and every single day of my life because I don't want to do shit. I don't want to do shit.
Right.
I gotta push. My default is the nigga of niggas.
Right. Right.
And sometimes I gotta push through that.
Yep.
To be the other person.
Yep. To change.
Yep.
That's
painful.
Yep.
To me.
Yeah.
And so I'm okay with that. I don't think I'm a bad person, but what I'm saying is all of this shit that we're talking about doing and I'm talking about doing and I want to do in my own personal life and that I want to do shit like that, I got to manage that in a way because that's how I'm actually manifesting the person that I want to be.
Yep.
And it's not through trying to find pleasure.
Right.
It's not trying to experience as much fucking quote unquote goodness as I can, because I can pick that anywhere.
Right.
It's this pain shit.
Yeah.
It's the shit that I don't want to do that I know I should do.
Right.
The person that I don't want to forgive. The ego that I know needs to die, and I've attached such a strong identity to that's no longer serving me.
Yep.
It's painful to think about letting that nigga go.
Yep. Yep. We love him.
So I love him.
Love him. Everybody love him.
But what do I do with that?
Yep.
And how do I manage it? And who's the real motherfucker on the other side of killing him?
Right. And yeah.
So,
yeah, You're in killing him, your relationship to him changes. Like, it's almost like, yeah, you can kill him, and that I don't know. I guess that's the ultimate goal. But at some point, you have to change. Through whole life, dog, your ego has been the person that you are. That drives you. Every decision that you make. The motherfucker who you want to be or meant to be or any of that shit takes a backseat to all of those ego decisions. Flipping that is how you start to diminish your ego, right? And that is fucking, dog, that's hard. And that's painful.
We've been told so much about, like, I don't know. Like if we disrupting the algorithm means questioning everything.
Yep.
There's a conversation that I want to have at some point about the idea of love and what the fuck that is.
Yep.
And just talking about it.
Yep.
And because flipping that on its head, we will live life so much better if we just entered into every motherfucking circumstance as saying, our first thought about this is probably wrong and not serving us.
Yep.
So whatever the fuck I want to do naturally, I probably shouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because we've been programmed with that first thought. And most of the shit that we've been programmed with doesn't serve us.
Yep.
And the key, and that's why I feel like the keys to the motherfucking kingdom is in the exact opposite. And that's why sometimes when I say like, oh, love to hate, people are like, huh? Because we've been told to hate the hate.
Yeah.
And we've been told to love the love. Like, this is what we've been told. Maybe. Like, even when you hear the Buddhas be like, oh, life is suffering. Now, I don't know if they're saying it's only suffering.
Right.
But like a part of some of that shit. It's like there's some wisdom in some of these things that is counter to what conventional wisdom and thoughts say we should think about shit.
Or what we've been taught. Yep.
I'm hungry, dog. I like your socks, man.
Hey, man. Every time, man.
You ain't got no dudes on them today.
Nah, I ain't got no dudes on them today. I might tomorrow, though.
How you feel?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm tired of shit. I'm hungry as a motherfucker, but I'm good.
I feel like we was kind of all over the little place a little bit.
Yeah, we was.
That's cool.
Hey, man. That's part of it.
Man.
That's
Even when we ain't right, we right.
Every time, dog. Tune the fork, baby.
Thank y'all for tuning in.
Yep, we see y'all next time, man.
Hey, love you, dog.
Love you too, bro.
Pause.